Welcome to Nephew and Uncle Basketball Banter, folks. Joined with my co-host and partner on the show, Dave Scholler, my uncle. Uncle Dave, we just got news a few days ago that Tom Thibodeau got the axe, and we kind of batted that around that he was being blamed and everything, but he's now out of a job. And I gotta say, my initial reaction was I was pretty shocked. I knew there was a chance because it's New York, and if you don't win it all, you're always on the chopping block. And the reaction I'm getting from looking online and talking to people, it's kind of a mixed bag. I would say it's almost like 50-50. People that are fine with the decision thought he didn't make enough adjustments. He kind of was too set in his ways. And then the other half saying, hey, he changed the culture. The Knicks have been the best they've been in quite some time. So it's definitely a mixed reaction. What do you think of the job he did and him being gone now? What was your reaction to it?
Well, I noticed the people who say it's a good move don't really understand what basketball is and basketball coaching. Yeah, they're truly just fans. There's a different levels of understanding between a fan and someone who actually really knows the game or played it
Fan
at a high level
fan short
or
for
coach.
fanatic.
Yes, or coached it at a high level. Totally different things. But there's so many different ways you can go with this topic right here. And
I know he really
we could
can.
start with the James Dolan scenario. We could start with too many cooks in the kitchen up top. There's like 25 people in the front office. I mean, somebody's gonna know he's not gonna like you. There's too many people.
Then I was reading about how people are saying Rick Brunson had too much of a role and the players didn't
Yeah,
like that.
That's the Rick Brunson
So
side.
it just sounds like it's leaking out now. It kind of maybe was a little more dilapidated than it was being portrayed and let on. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, and of course the Knicks don't give a lot of press conferences, and they're not getting out in front of this, which is really a shame. But someone should step out front and say something. But you just gotta know: is it Dolan's choice? Is it Rose's choice? Worldwide West in here? I mean, but we'll know a lot when if Rick Brunson is still on the staff of the next coach.
Right. And then, the names that I saw being thrown out there for a possible coach for the Knicks, Jay Wright was one of them.
No way. Jay
I,
Wright's not
I
taking that
thought so
job.
too. I thought some people are saying maybe because of the Villanova connection with Bridges and
No,
Brunson. I
that
said
ain't working. No.
I thought so. I've looked at him as very much. I mean, I looked at Billy Donovan as a college guy too, but I just Jay Wright, like you said, coming out of retirement for that, I think
Billy
that
Donovan I could see, but not Jay Wright.
right. And then Mike Brown, Frank Vogel, Mike Malone. I definitely think they'll go
Mike
the
Brown
route.
would be good.
I think that I would like to see that as well. I think he kind of has the right demeanor and everything. I think they will go with a coach that has coaching experience. I don't foresee them bumping Rick Brunson up to being the head coach or
No.
going that route. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But obviously, the Knicks, it's a good coaching job. There's no doubt. Obviously, you have to deal with the New York media, but just have to let the viewers know here that Tom Thibodeau, he just was guy who won Coach of the Year not that long ago for the Knicks in 2021. So he gets fired after that, and it's not the first time that's happened. It happened with Nick Nurse. It happened with Avery Johnson. It's happened before, but
Byron
uh,
Scott,
yeah,
Jason Kidd,
yep. Tom Thibodeau, he
Lawrence
won
Frank,
won Coach of the Year with the Bulls as well too, and he
Sam
got
Mitchell.
fired after that. Yep.
Huh.
It happens time and time
Dick
again.
Yeah.
Another example of that. But what do you make of people saying that maybe he got outclassed by Rick Carlisle in a coaching battle? And Jeff Teague recently on his podcast said that Tibbs, he's not an X's and O's guy. He's more of like a motivational kind of coach. And obviously the great ones are the ones who can do both. But I think I like him as a coach. I thought he was like a hand in glove fit, I thought, for the city. But there are some that think the offense was not lucrative enough, didn't have enough of a bench, and maybe he got outcoached by Coach Carlisle.
Couple of things. Some teams have more flexibility than other teams. So while I love Rick Carlisle more than I do Tibbs, Rick Carlisle has more flexibility on that roster to try different things. So that makes the phrase of
Yeah, they're a
outcoaching
deeper team.
someone
Yeah, they were a deeper team.
that makes the phrase and an opportunity to outcoach someone great. Now, if the Knicks won, you could say he didn't outcoach him. So it's a tricky situation. I would say that um, you know the bench. He played a lot of guys, made a significant move after being down 2-0. People screamed about it, and then they win. So you can't have it both ways, and that's what fans want. They want it both ways. But like I said, this is, and I love Rick Carlin, but this is something where
I think this is a gamble. This is definitely a
yeah, it
gamble.
is. Sure is a gamble. And here's the thing: we talked about this before this even happened. You don't get to start in 2K14 season mode and save it.
Right.
You don't get to start in the conference finals next year. This isn't 2K14 where you go through, season mode and then you can save your season mode. And if you lose in the conference finals, then you can go back in season mode of 2K14 and play. Am I right or wrong? Can you do that?
Yeah, yeah, you could
Yeah,
basically not save the game. You could say I'm
yeah,
starting over. Yeah.
yeah. But you can't do that here. And this is what, and we've talked about this before. I hate to repeat it, but the Pistons are on the come. So are the Magic. We don't know what the Heat are going to do, but Pat Riley's the GM, so you got to pay attention. Cleveland's not going anywhere. Okay, Celtics are down, and the Pacers aren't going anywhere. But you know what? This thing, you have no guarantee to get back there because, again, these are 7 game series. I will enjoy your point about the offense. I don't like the offense either. I don't like ball dominant guys. I don't. Never have. It didn't work for James Harden in 7 games. It hasn't worked for Luka in 7 games. It doesn't work for Brunson in 7 games.
Are we saying though a
So
new coach is going to come in here and tell Jalen Brunson, "Hey, we're taking you off the ball"? I mean, that's what's
I
going to have
think
to
I
happen a little
think
bit, right?
I think it's so much easier to take him off the ball and get him the ball with about 6 seconds on the clock and let him go then. If
Right.
that way everybody gets to touch it, you don't wear him down.
Yeah.
Again, we've talked about this. It's so much easier to score without the ball. Alvin Iverson never learned it. LeBron still doesn't learn it. He just has to have the ball every second of the day. And it's like when Kobe played with Steve Nash and Ron Artest. Kobe wants to bring the ball up.
Yeah.
And like, even Kobe, I love Kobe, but he's
You were,
sometimes
yeah,
very stupid and pigheaded.
you reduce Steve Nash to make basically a brittle two guard then at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like what are you doing? So, just very strange. I will say this though, everybody who's taken over for Tibbs has done worse than he did. Both all the franchises have gone right back in the crapper. The Bulls haven't been that good since he left,
No,
haven't
they've
won
not.
one playoff series. The Knicks, we'll see what happens to them. But again, I don't think it's a failure if the new person comes in and loses in the second round because this Eastern Conference is better at the top, I think, than the Western Conference is. So I think there's more depth at the top, maybe not more depth at the bottom. But Cleveland is no slouch, and like I said, the Pistons and the Magic, they ain't going anywhere.
I have a
They're
feeling
coming.
we could be here next year and saying, "Hey, Tibbs overachieved with that team."
Well, he's a grinder. Grinders usually overachieve,
Right.
and he put the time in. But again, I really believe there's too many people in the front office that have a say. And in the old days, you had 2 or 3 people in the front office, and today you have 20 people up there. Well, somebody's always going to have something to say. And I always feel this way. I mean, like if you have that many people at the top, you're always going to have someone who's unhappy. And here's the thing: there's no way you're ever going to get it perfect. I mean, it's a bureaucracy. A bureaucracy has more people involved in decision making. So today was an anniversary of a significant moment. There was a time when Magic being good friends with Mark Aguirre, the Lakers wanted to trade Mark Aguirre for James Worthy straight up. And now Mark Aguirre is a good player, but he's not
Not
James
James.
Worthy.
No.
He's not James Worthy on his best day. But he was friends at Magic, and I remember Jerry Buss thinking about doing this with the Mavs owner and the rights to Roy Tarpley, who's probably the leading rebounder per minute in the history of the NBA, but had drug problems. One of the great players of all time. That it's really a shame what happened to his career. For those of you who know Roy Tarpley, big man out of Michigan, look him up, real good player. But the thing is, all of a sudden Jerry West got a hold of it and went to Jerry Buss and said, "Hey, I'm quitting right now." And they dropped that deal. And now, thank God they dropped that deal. James Worthy won 3 titles with the Lakers, so I think
Magic
it
in
was a good move.
hindsight's probably glad as well that that happened.
Sure, but the thing is, it's just my point about that is that there's always too many cooks in the kitchen right now. I mean, like I said, staffs used to be 2 or 3 people. There's too many people in this decision making process. Rose has obviously done a good job with the Knicks. Can't say he hasn't. World Wide West. I mean, he's involved here. There's one name that no one's brought up that I am surprised, and that it's been brought up. I mean, I don't see how you give this guy an extension. This has got to be a Dolan thing. Why would you give this guy an extension? Owe him $30 million and cut him loose.
Last
That's a Dolan
last
thing.
year, right? Yeah.
First of all, he went further than last year and beat the Celtics, who everybody thought were going right back to the finals. So, and I don't want to hear about Jason Tatum. They're going to be up 3-1 anyway.
Yes.
So, you know what? This is, I mean, I can't see Rose changing
And
his mind that quick.
I hate to say, game one. I don't blame Tibbs for that. That's on the players right there. That one,
Absolutely.
they should have won that game. I mean, let's
Yeah,
be
you don't
honest.
miss free throws.
If you're a Knicks fan, if you win that game one, you should be feeling like, hey, that should have been our series now, looking
Yeah,
back
you're
on it.
playing on Monday. You were playing last Monday night for the
Yeah.
title,
And
but
then game two, they lose by 5 points. So, I mean, I
yeah,
don't blame him on that. I mean, is Tibbs out there
sure,
taking the free throws? Is he out there one making the turnovers? It's not,
no,
so I
but you know how
think,
that goes. But
yeah,
the bad news is you have to address this from several levels. Dolan, if you remember, you're young, a lot younger than I am, but James Dolan always had a love affair with one guy who did nothing but cause ruin everywhere he's ever been in basketball, except as a player, and that's Isaiah Thomas.
oh, yeah. No, he hung on to
James
him like,
Dolan consulted Isaiah Thomas 5 or 6 times after he was gone as the Knicks coach. Isaiah Thomas, as an executive with the Knicks, was bad. He had sexual harassment
yeah.
charges.
Yeah, he's
Isaiah ruined the
terrible.
CBA. Isaiah's ruined everything. So Isaiah, I wouldn't be surprised because Isaiah, he's always looking for attention. Isaiah, he's always talking about how Michael isn't even in his top 10 of all time.
Oh,
Mike
ridiculous
dunked on
stuff.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Mike dunked on you like 20 times. It's like just shut up.
How
So
about Ron
like,
Artest trying to nominate himself for head coach for the Knicks?
yeah. But I mean, it's just funny
Uh,
because I think this is a Dolan thing. I really do. And the other thing is, like I said, we'll find out if Brunson's on this staff. We know that Brunson had a hand in this. Now, I hope he didn't stab the guy, but there's a lot of Julius Caesars in the world. Brutus is out there. A lot of Brutus is out there.
Judas Iscariot.
Or, or this is a situation because there are a lot of rumors about players being unhappy with Mr. Brunson's role, the dad, and maybe Tibbs wouldn't give up Brunson. Maybe they said you have to give him up, and Tibbs fell on the
I have
sword
a
and said,
feeling if all the stuff we're talking about, that'll come out in the weeks to come, I'm sure. That'll come out in
sure.
the offseason. You can't keep
But
that
if
bottled up forever.
right,
And
but
I
if
want to know
Brunson, yeah,
with Thibodeau getting fired here, I think Jalen Brunson, I think, has enough pull now and has enough clout in the city where I'm sure they would have ran that by him, I think. As he's looked at as a
yeah,
franchise player for them now. I don't think they would have done that without kind of running it by him. So who knows? Like you said, the Rick Brunson thing is fascinating right there. Is
if
this a
he's on the
situation?
staff, we're going to learn a lot.
Right, exactly. If he's retained, then that obviously is
He's got a
very
hand in
that's
this.
that's an eyebrow raiser right there then for sure.
Plus, don't forget Dante DiVincenzo screaming during the preseason
Yeah,
game.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, so,
You
things
can
like
all
that.
say he was screaming at. Everybody can say he was screaming at Tibbs all he want. He wasn't. He was screaming at Brunson's dad. Go back and watch. I found it. He's screaming at Brunson's dad. He thought he had too much to say. That offense is all Brunson. We know it. OG Anunoby's a much better player than his touches. Bridges the other night again goes 6 for 9. If you're 6 for 9, why are you not getting more shots? So my point is the offense was very singular in nature. It's great at the end of a shot clock and things of that nature. But again, if you're ball dominant, you're going to produce. But that's why I disagree with some people. I don't think this is a great job. If there's too many voices up there in that front office where the assistant to the assistant manager has a say and doesn't like you, if you have 20 people working, someone's not going to like you. I mean, Tibbs is a coach. When we coach, we don't get involved in conversations. That's not our priority. During the season, we're like such singular animals. It's disgusting. And unless you've ever done that, you have no idea what the hell it's like. Players think they're singular. Players after a good game go home and like have a slice of pizza and pass out. A coach goes home and sees all the warts, and after a loss, forget it. You don't sometimes you
Yeah,
don't sleep.
right.
So the bottom line, and players aren't doing that. Sometimes they are, but they're not. So Tibbs isn't worried about shaking this guy's hand who's the eighth assistant in the office and pleasing him and saying, "Ma, you look nice today," or "You have a nice tie," or some other
He's not
bullshit. But
wired that
that's
way either. He's not wired
no,
that way.
as a
Yeah.
coach, you're not thinking like that. And the guy probably slept about 3 hours a day for the last 6 months. That's the way it goes. And we accept that. We accept the criticism of that comes with the job. But
Why he has no hair left.
exactly. But the thing is, like, there's something there. And why would you give him a $30 million extension and cut him loose after he went around further and beat the defending champs, who
Right.
he wasn't supposed to beat?
And you
So,
should be in the finals too. Yeah.
right. So I can't imagine that after going around further, being defending champs and a $30 million extension, that's Rose's idea. It's somebody else's idea.
The
And as Dolan,
first time you entered the conference finals in 25 years, back to back 50-win seasons.
right,
I mean,
right.
wow.
Is Dolan getting involved? Well, we got to find out. That's what's going to come out in the weeks, and someone should come out and have some balls and get in front of this. Maybe Rose has to fall on the sword. I just don't want to hear that guys didn't know their role. That's a cop out bullshit thing. If you're only playing 7 guys, everybody knows their role. Now you can get on the bench thing, and I always think in the regular season you have to make your bench. Now, you've heard me say this to you
That's a
many
fair
times.
criticism of him. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you could. If you heard me say this to you many times, you're always deeper than you think you are. So, for example, been doing it 35 years now. I can look back to every team I've ever coached, and I can think of maybe 1 or 2 more guys that could have played more minutes. Every team I've ever had. And those are teams that some of those teams won, state championships and stuff. You could still think of something you could do better. That's the coach in you. That's the way we think. So you always can go back and you're always deeper than you think you are. Because the year after those guys are gone, you're like, well, that kid helped us a little bit. And then you realize the possibilities of the player who helps you. So I don't think it is a great job. It's just too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't like it. And the other thing is, New York media is brutal. Um, I would like to see Mike Brown get it. I wouldn't mind seeing stone-faced Jeff Van Gundy back, just like I watch his ugly facial expressions. But there's no way you're getting. I'd be really surprised if you're getting Jason Kidd or Udoka. They're under contract.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I saw Jason Kidd on like the Dallas job, especially now at the number one pick.
Oh my God, get
Yeah,
get a
why
guy who
would
passes like Cooper Flag, and you're
yeah, why
Jason
would
Kidd,
you
who's
why would you
Jason
leave
Kidd's a
that?
top five passer of all time. Don't you want to coach Cooper Flag? I do.
And let's be honest, out of all the places in the country to be in Dallas, not exactly the worst place. So I
No,
don't think it's a situation where he's looking at that saying, "I'm dying to be the coach of the
right.
Knicks."
They're toying with getting rid of that pick, but that's a story for another day. My point is, I don't know if this is a great job, but if this is Dolan, is Isaiah back in the picture, or is Dolan just impatient, or is somebody else in Dolan's ear? And that's why I bring up Isaiah, because Isaiah was always in Dolan's
I
ear and
think
never
you would
gave him the
have an
right answer.
all-out mutiny amongst the fans. I think if you brought Isaiah Thomas back, I mean,
No,
especially.
no, I don't think he's coming back, but Isaiah always has a role. For some reason,
Oh,
he
you're
has
saying he might have gotten in the ear of Dolan, and maybe
it's saying, hey,
get
you can get
released
somebody
him enough.
else. But
Right,
just
right,
Dolan,
right,
for some reason, admires this guy who's done nothing but bring failure to the Knicks.
right.
But yet, Dolan interfered with Walsh. Dolan interferes. He made him take Carmelo. Donnie Walsh is building something. He didn't want Carmelo. He had that thing built right. He was starting to get it from the bottom up. They made him take Carmelo. Sure, he sold out for a 50-win season. Never did shit after that. So, bottom line is, this is a crazy situation, but this
He's
is this
been
could be
known to kind
Dolan
of get in
or
the way,
Rose.
Dolan, of things when things are going well, actually, for the Knicks to kind of steamroll it. And,
Yeah,
maybe that's a situation where you have it here. I'm also going to be curious. Maybe you have a guys who've played for him, like DiVincenzo, who was on the team last year. Maybe he says something, or a guy like Hartenstein. I know they're in the finals, him, Obi Toppin, but you might have a guy like Randall or something. Maybe they have no skin in the game anymore as far as being playing for that team. They might actually say something to the press. Who knows? You might
yeah.
have
But
a
here's
guy
the thing.
send a subliminal message.
And then, people say, well, maybe it wasn't, maybe it's you didn't, Carl Anthony Towns. Well, he coached Carl Anthony Towns in Minnesota when he was really young. And he coached him again this year. And Carl Anthony Towns had his best playoff he's ever had. Carl Anthony Towns had a fourth quarter of the game this year where he scored 20 in the fourth quarter in a playoff game. Carl Anthony Towns has never done that before. So my point is, yeah, he had a couple of games that were curious, but again, a lot of foul trouble. But if you're putting up 24 and 12, don't tell me you were useless. So 24, like I said, NBA you can get fake numbers in the NBA, but those aren't fake numbers when you're averaging 24 and 12.
It
So,
just
and
seems
Carl
with
Anthony
a
Towns
lot of
was
the
aggressive.
luck. Yeah, it just seems with the Knicks kind of luck and their success or lack thereof in the last quarter century here that I could definitely see a situation where they think the grass is greener on the other side and it just totally does not turn out to be that way.
Well, the former Knicks assistant who's out there with Kenny Atkinson now is also a name that's been
I saw
bantied
that as
around.
well. Yeah.
So he'd be a good guy. I like to see a new guy come in. I would love to see Mike Brown come in. I think Mike Brown's an excellent coach. I think he's one of the better ones. Ty Lue's not available. I would take him, but Jason Kidd's not going to be available. And like I said, Udoka, there's no way Houston's letting him go.
Yeah, he's a gold mine, I think, over in Houston there. But
And
yeah, and then I had a situation too where Bridges thought he was playing too many minutes. I mean, it's very rare where you have guys complaining about playing too many minutes.
yeah, supposedly Bridges wasn't happy, but then again, at the end, this is what happens. Don't forget, we're in this business where everybody gets paid by clicks. So a lot of these stories are unverified. Nobody puts a name to it as far as the source. So my point is, Rick Carlisle got fired a couple of years back. So let's go easy here. Byron Scott was coach of the year, got fired. Sam Mitchell, coach of the year. Lawrence Frank, coach of the year. They all get fired. Every coach of the year ever lived got fired. There's an old book by Rick Pitino, You're Hired to Be Fired. Everybody should go read it. So it's a situation where coach of the year doesn't mean crap. There's guys who always get fired right after coach of the year. So but you're not getting Spolstra either. If you think Pat Riley's helping the Knicks, there's no way Pat Riley's helping the Knicks. If you're Spolstra, why would you want to leave there for here?
No
There's
way.
no freaking way. I
Yeah.
got a solid GM behind me.
Well, you're also empowered by him, Pat Riley. So I think Eric Spoelstra, as long as Riley's there's no way he's leaving that situation. So I think
No, there's no
that
way.
would never happen.
But my point is, this job is not that good. You can look at it from the Dolan angle. the Brunson angle. We have to see how this plays out. Are you going to let a guy pick his own staff? But again, or is this just a Rose thing that somehow Tibbs wouldn't take Brunson off, so then Tibbs got canned? But if Tibbs and Brunson had gone, I think that's what happened.
Well, that's the
If
thing. Right now, the reason right now is kind of up in the air. No one really knows. Everyone's speculating. There's not anything concrete right now as far as what the reason is. I don't know if the managerial element of the Knicks will address that and give
you
a
hope that somebody would come out, unfortunately, Rose might have to come out and fall on the sword for Dolan. That's what he gets paid. Dolan is the owner, so sometimes you got to do that. People always say, "Well, Dolan doesn't interfere with the Rangers," but you never know. Dolan might be sick enough to actually think he knows something about basketball. He's interfered with the Knicks before. So again, it's his team, so he can do whatever he wants. But I don't know. Tibbs has always had this narrative. They did a little research this year about his guys playing more and getting hurt, and they actually did the NBA did a research model on it and actually found it was a false narrative. And the bottom line is, next year if those guys break down, they're going to blame Tibbs again. I mean, they probably
right,
will.
right.
So my point is, this is not as good a gig as everybody thinks. We got to see what happens with Mr. Brunson there. Um, he does have a lot to say on that bench. And again, what I would say happened is someone said something about Brunson. They wanted him to fall on the sword a little bit, but or they just thought they could do better. It could be that simple.
Yeah, I think that they think he was maybe too set in his ways, Coach Thibodeau, and that they need someone who's maybe a little more. I've used the term lucrative offensively. I think they're looking at that. But like I said, you're certainly you're having a gamble here, no doubt. You don't the locker room and everything. I hope you kind of ran that by these guys here because you don't want to lose the locker room. You get a totally different style in there. You don't know how the players are going to respond to that. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
We'll see what
the
happens.
funny thing is they talk about flexibility. If you go back and watch the Chicago offense, there's nothing like the Nick offense. Obviously, he's had some flexibility there. The Chicago offense was about as bad as it gets. He had nobody could score on the team except for Rose. Dang was inconsistent, always banged up. Freaking. He had a couple of other guys. The big fella in the
Joakim
middle,
Noah,
6'8". Yep.
Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson, Carlos
Yeah,
Boozer,
Taj Gibson, all
Mike
all true
Dunleavy,
warriors. All true warriors that I
Nate
love.
Robinson. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but the thing is, this offense is totally different than an offense. So obviously he's flexible. Like I say, change the starting lineup in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's pretty flexible. A lot of guys would never do that. He also played a lot of guys off the bench the last couple of games. But again, your best two players don't guard, and we saw what this was like last year when Luka just got torched. And this is obviously something now in this era of 3 and D. It's not 3 and maybe D. It's called 3 and D in this era where you got to be able to do both. Guys are getting torched who can't guard, and it's showing.
I think my prediction here are the Knicks next season going to be in a game six in the Eastern Conference final. If I had to take the over under on that, I would say no. I would say under. I
Yeah,
would
me
say
too.
not. I would just, the odds are, I think that that's not going to be where they're going to be next year.
But
Like you said,
in defense of the foolish fans, not in defense of them, but I'll back up their reasoning without them really having the same reasoning, just because they're ignorant to this stuff. But Tibbs could have a successful season next year and not get back to Game 6. It is not like we talked about. There's not 2K. You don't get to start over. You could easily lose in the first round. You get a bad matchup or an ankle. You could easily lose in the second round. Look at the Celtics. People talking dynasty, dynasty, dynasty. They're banged up all year. People don't read the tea leaves. People don't really understand the game. That team
yeah.
was banged up
I
before
mean,
Tatum got hurt.
that shit could be over, honestly. It really could be. I mean, it might
It
not,
could be.
but it could be,
It-
though. Yeah.
yeah. But look how crazy they are. It's about getting rid of Jalen Brown. What are you, nuts?
Yeah, you can't do
One of
that.
the best 10 players in the game. He's in his prime. Why would you get rid of him?
You just got to
Like,
run
what?
it back with that roster and see how Tatum
Well, here's the
responds.
thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Run it back with that roster, win 40, 45 games, get in that goddamn lotto. You never know what the hell could happen. Then you got
Exactly.
Tatum, him, and some lotto pick.
Right. Yeah.
Like what? Like, yeah, you want to get rid of Kristoff, Porzingis, and Al Horford? Yeah, Al Horford's old now. He can't guard anymore, and Al Horford was always a good defender. Porzingis is too much money. I get it. Problem is, Carl Anthony Towns, speaking of money, is getting 50, 55, and I think 58 going forward. He ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it's maybe they think someone else could get more out of Carl Anthony Towns. We don't know.
Well, that's the thing too. You seeing now fans for the Knicks saying they should shop Carl Anthony Towns now. So I don't know what his market value
Yeah, yeah.
would be
Well,
out
yeah.
there.
How you doing that? Guy's making $50 million. It's rough.
You know how it is with the New York media and everything, and the fans.
They think they're
Everybody's
shopping. Yeah, I want this like the
Yeah.
Yankee fans. Yeah, I need Jesus at second base. I need Moses at
Well,
shortstop.
that's the thing. People make fun of the callers, the Mike Francesa all these years.
Oh God, it's
Yeah,
the best.
yeah.
Yeah, I want Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig for Mike Stanley. Straight up. All right, good.
Right. I'll hang up the phone and take your answer there.
Yeah, but that's New York. I mean, it just drives you crazy. But the point is, this is not a great job, I don't think, because of now the expectation has been set.
Well, yeah. Well, I
I
mean,
don't
now I
think.
think next year, whoever takes the job, I think it's you either get to the finals or it's considered a bust. Honestly.
But here's the thing, and again, I want to flash back to people. Again, you can be a first-time coach and do this. Pat Riley inherited a championship team from the booth. He won the second year. He won after they'd already won 2 years before. Because they didn't run enough. They ran too much. Kareem wanted them to run, but also wait for him. That was a big problem. Magic wanted to run more. So the other thing is, Doug Collins got pushed out. Phil Jackson came in, went to the conference finals again, followed up what they did with Doug Collins, and then basically they went to the NBA finals and a great success.
Yeah, you
So
could
that's
you,
been
you could have a situation next year where a coach steps in and they do make it to the finals, and
right,
it has nothing to do with the coaching change. It just has to do with the guys
right.
maybe made a
Well, they
few
had another year
plays.
together.
Yeah,
But my
exactly.
point is, this has been done. It's been done. It's worked. Like I said, Phil Jackson for Doug
Oh, look at
Collins, but it was
look,
usually
look at Mark
it was
Jackson with
usually in
Steve
year
Kerr.
two.
Look at that. That was Mark
Yeah,
Jackson's team.
Steve Kerr stepped into it, and when Steve Kerr was out, I think Luke Walton went 40-5 over a period. So it
Exactly.
wasn't
I mean,
Steve
the
Kerr.
culture had already been established by Mark Jackson. Steve Kerr was the beneficiary of that.
Sure. But my point is, it's been done before. Guys have come and taken over great teams and kept winning with him. Pat Riley in the middle of the season, threw Stan Van Gundy under the bus. I guess he won another title. But you could see it. Like I said, Doug Collins got pushed out. You know, uh, the guru of Go, Paul Westhead, got pushed out. So it's happened many times, many times. And look what happened. Rick Carlisle got pushed out. 2 years later, Dallas is in the finals.
Well, I
So
think
I
you have
mean,
a situation with the Knicks. If you address backup point guard, maybe you get a backup center and you get a little more scoring off the bench. If you just do three of those things, just a tiny amount, I think you have a chance to be in the finals next year, no doubt.
I think a guy like Kolek could help. You do got to find a backup center if you're gonna go two bigs. I could see that because Robinson showed you his value. Go
Especially with
two
the
bigs
injury,
if you
the,
want.
the injury history of those two guys too, from
Sure,
that standpoint. Yeah.
sure. So find that backup center. Go get a guy who's floating around out there somewhere. Go try to. I know you can't get a. You can't get a DeAndre Ayton. He's probably too much money. He won't fit under the cap. You're not going to get a Mark Williams from Charlotte, but you got to try to find one of those. I'd invite Dwight Howard in for a cup of coffee. I really would.
You got to find a guy at veterans minimum that's hungry that wants to win. You could find that out there. There'll be someone on the market for that next year, sure.
Absolutely. Or you get a kid. There's some people in this. Some people in this draft too at the bottom of that first round who are going to be good shot blockers in
Yeah,
this
you need a
league. I
guy
mean,
who can give you 8 to 10 minutes maybe a night. That's what you need for
yep,
next
that's
year.
all you need.
Same thing with the backup point guard, and
Yeah,
then the guy
maybe,
off the
maybe,
bench to
maybe,
score.
yeah, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes tops. Well, Robinson plays, and sometimes once in a while you go small, depending on what night you're playing. And
Right.
it can be done here. It's just a matter of tinkering with your roster. And basketball is the most chemistry oriented game there is, so it's very tough to fit the pieces of the puzzle. But Tibbs, deserved a better fate. He's still owed $30 million, so he'll be all right.
Well, we've talked
You
about it.
know,
Being fired NFL or NBA coach is the best job in the world.
best job in America. So if you want to pay me 30 million, Knicks, I'll take it for you. You can fire my ass too.
Right, and call me all the names you
Do
want.
whatever you want. We'll hang out. We'll just go traveling around, watch games. But the thing is, I thought it was the wrong move, but it's what GMs get paid for, and I don't think it's the GM's idea. I really don't.
Right, yeah. Like I said, I think this summer we'll find out eventually after the NBA season ends and after the
Well, I wonder when
draft and
the only
everything.
thing I
I'm
haven't heard
sure.
of is the time frame for hiring a coach. They haven't really been clear about how quickly they want to do this.
Right.
So
And it's
like
do you have a situation where you go through the draft and free agency and you don't have a coach? You have a hard time believing you're
that's
going to do all
fine
that.
because let's be honest. Do you think the GM wants to hear from some new coach who they should draft?
It's true,
No, you
yeah.
don't want to hear that. Why you gonna do that?
Right, right. So the
I
coach is
mean, but I'll tell you
totally
what, if you could get Udoka, go do it. But there's no way Houston's letting
no,
him
he's
go.
not. He's not leaving there.
You'd have to give up picks and players for that.
Yeah, he's got an excellent young team there. There's no way you leave that situation.
Although
Yeah,
Udoka's the kind of dog who'd say, let me go take New York and win there. He's that kind of guy. I think to me, he's my favorite coach in the NBA.
Like I said,
But
you have a situation where you know if you win and you're the coach of the Knicks here, you will have a statue. You'll be looked at as a
oh
god.
my God, that's why I've always said when Tibbs took the job, it's a great job for Tibbs. Now it isn't because the expectations off the chart. But if I could take one basketball job and win, it would be this one
No, no,
because
yeah,
here in New York, you'd never pay for a meal again.
no, no, you'd be a god. Sure.
Yeah, it's like Walt Frazier still hasn't paid for a meal. So like,
Right.
I mean, like it's a different world, man. You win in New York, it's different.
It is.
Yeah, to me, that's like the perfect job. I mean, that's why Jay Wright's not going to get. Jay Wright doesn't want to have 82 games.
Yeah, no, no, no.
I mean, Billy Donovan juiced the 82 games.
Yeah, you telling me he wants to coach double the games and have that grief? I don't think so. Yeah.
Plus, Billy D he's a New York kid, played for the Knicks. But I'd like to see Mike Brown. I would love Billy D. I wouldn't mind Jeff Van
I know you're
Gundy.
gonna roll your eyes. Mark Jackson.
I don't know, man. I don't know if you can
Like
be
you
talking
said,
about the
talking
Lord in the
about
locker room.
preaching God in the locker room, like you said, it just does not work.
Yeah, it's the one thing they'll let you do. You can't be selling shit in the locker room. You can't be preaching to God
Right.
in the locker room. I don't know if Mark's a real. I mean, I know he had that great crew there, and he was right about some things, but is he really a great coach? I'm not sure. You know, uh, I mean, there's so many good guys out there right now. I mean, Bullenhoser's good, but Mike Bullenhoser, as good as he was for winning the title, tried to give away that series. He did his best, and he's had some really bad ones too. So Nick Nurse isn't available probably, or else I'd go get his ass because I think he's a great coach. Ty Lue's not available. Jason Kidd, I think, does a good job.
Like I said earlier, the name I saw floating around was Mike Malone. I don't know why fans were talking about him, but Mike
Well,
Malone
he
was
has won a title, but obviously I heard that I did a little research today on that, and it sounds like that is definitely a no. Because he's more tough than Tom Thibodeau, so he's more old school than Tibbs, so I think he'll be out.
right. Well, he was
Uh,
also challenging the players 2 weeks before he got fired, saying guys weren't doing enough, stuff as far as studying and film and like that. So yeah,
Truth hurts.
so
Truth hurts today.
I don't see that happening. Yeah, but where do you think Coach Thibodeau will get another job, Uncle Dave? Do you think he'll have another head coaching gig eventually?
I think he's one of these guys. I hate to use a baseball reference, but I think he's going to be a Buck Showalter, Billy Martin guy, where if you want a guy to build a team and build a culture, you'll
Well, that's
hire
the
them.
thing. I really think he is that because I mean he definitely established cultures, a good array of toughness and physicality on his team. So that's why I
Yep.
always liked watching him coach because I think he's good for the NBA from that standpoint, having a guy like that who's a grit and grind kind of guy.
You know what's funny though? If you could bring back Chuck Daly, he'd win with this team because Chuck Daly was a great defensive coach, but he also had style and personality. So he was rare. He's not one of these guys that look like he just drank 25 Diet
Well,
Cokes and
that's
is
the thing.
making
Coach
faces.
Thibodeau, he looks like he's constipated the whole game. I mean,
Exactly. His Chuck Daly. Chuck Daly was dressed to the nines. He was tough. He'd just motherfuck you to death. He didn't care. Like he was a tough dude. But at the same time, great defensive coach. And he'd bring Mike Malone's dad with him, Brendan Malone. And that team, if we could resurrect those two gentlemen, they'd win with this team. But I don't think that's going to happen. So, like I said, I mean, I would love to see them go get one of those big names. But I really do think Mike Brown is good enough. I don't think I don't think Bubble Boy is good enough. I don't think he's a good enough coach to win my bubble champion. But I do think Mike Brown is a championship level coach.
we'll certainly see. Like I said, being here in New York and the Knicks being 2 games away from getting to the finals, it's very rare you have a team in that situation letting go of their coach when you have that much success. So we'll see what
How
happens.
about Nate McMillan, Sam Cassell? Sam Cassell's not getting any shot. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the names we batted around, the odds I think are very high. It's going to be one of those guys. I don't see it being a first-time coach. I think they're going to go with someone with some seasoning. The fan base, I think, is kind of going to be demanding that. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's going to be very intriguing to see who inherits this team. Obviously, it's a talented roster, and what you do in the draft and free agency, we'll see what happens with that. But
Yeah, and
Knicks,
for the last couple of days, I hear this stupid narrative. Again, the guys on the fan don't know as much about basketball as I know about being tall. I'm 5'6", for those you don't know. But the bottom line is this wasn't a flawed roster. If you want to say this is probably one of the best starting fives in the NBA, if not the best starting five. So don't tell me it's a flawed roster. Yeah, could it be better? Sure. But just because depth is the thing of the day, and we're going to see it tonight on display, doesn't mean that roster is a bad roster, and that's my point.
No, I don't think it is
So
either.
I think they got the little guard off the bench. Get Kolek to play a little point. You need a little bit more size somewhere, and we go from there.
Yeah, it's just about addressing. I think that's to me when I evaluate the Knicks. It's just you have to have a backup point guard, give you 10 minutes, a good backup center, maybe just as some reinsurance in case Towns or Robinson goes down, and a guy who's maybe a microwave off the bench for you who can give you
And
some.
here's the problem.
Even if you
This is
do
the
just
one.
one or two of those three, you're in better
This is
shape.
the one problem I have with Mike Malone this year and Tibbs even a little bit this year. You have to commit to the bench. So game one in October 30th or whatever it is, Denver shouldn't be having Joker out there for 42 minutes.
Absolutely not.
Go
Yeah,
to, you go to DeAndre Jordan, you say, listen, dude,
you got to
you're
give me
playing 10 minutes
13.
a
Yeah,
night.
right, right. 10 to
I'm
13.
giving you five at the beginning of the second quarter to the end of the first quarter. I'm doing the same to the third and the fourth. You got to give me something, or else you got to get your ass out of here. Same now with Tyler Kolek. You commit Brunson to doing that. Commit Brunson to having like 10 minutes a night off. Hey, in the playoffs, you want to get to 42 minutes, 43 minutes? I'm all for it.
Right.
But you have to commit to the bench. You got to have at least 8 during the season. And the
Especially
Knicks, I
during the regular season, I think you have to even have nine. I think honestly, you have
me
to have a
too.
nine-man rotation. I think
Sure,
it's too long of a season. You're going to be at this for 7 months here. You can't be doing that. Obviously, when playoff time comes, that rotation might shrink by a player or two.
sure.
But you have
Well,
to
look
be
what Pat
playing at
Riley
least
used to
nine
do.
consistently.
Pat Riley would play 8, he'd always get down to 7. So like you can do it. And again,
Especially with 82 game season, Uncle Dave, then 7 game
yeah.
season throughout. You have to have
I
that.
mean, the Knicks have those 2 guards on that bench that can play. I mean, let them play. I mean, Shamet can play the point, so they got three. They got 3 guys who could play.
Yeah, throw DeLon Wright out there. You have to have
Yeah,
those
you
guys
you
in
got
there.
three guards who could play. Then you got Wright. All right, maybe get rid of one of these guards and go get a bigger gentleman. See if you could do that. I know the Suns could use some guards. Get a guard to the Suns. See if you can find a backup. Get like a Mason Plumlee somewhere or something.
Right.
A guy who could just come in, is athletic, block some shots, catch a lob. Maybe a guy like Clint Capella, whose contract was big several years ago, but now isn't that bad. See what he's up to. He's coming off an injury.
We've been talking
You
about
go
it
up,
too. I mean, we've mentioned it as Dwight Howard. Can't he could give you 10 minutes. I'm sorry. I know he could right now.
yes, yeah, but you gotta get to Dwight and tell him,
Right.
can we not tell jokes in the middle of the fourth quarter? I mean, yeah,
Right.
he's one of those guys. Can we not
Right.
fuck around?
Right.
I mean, if Dwight's locked in, I would go do it. Obviously, DeAndre Jordan isn't. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that hard of a roster move here. I don't know who's a free agent right now. I'm not sure.
You just need a
Um,
tweak here and there. You don't need an overhaul. I think to
right,
move
and
Towns,
obviously,
I don't like that at all. I think you're playing with fire if you do that.
I was really excited when they signed PJ Tucker, but obviously they didn't want him.
Yeah,
So
he was kind of had a DeAndre Jordan kind of mentor. He was like an assistant coach basically on that team, it seemed like. Yeah.
I think the only thing that Rose might have made the move for, and I don't think it was Rose, because why would he give him the extension? Is maybe he didn't like the fact that the guys he got him, he didn't play.
It could be that as
Like a
well. You know
PJ.
that the GMs can get bitter at coaches for that kind of thing. It
Yeah.
could be that case.
But this is why the conversation before has to take place. Tibbs, do you want PJ Tucker? And if the minute goes where he doesn't want him, don't do it
Right.
because he's not going to play him. All right.
Yeah,
So
so you just wasted all that.
right,
Yeah.
if you don't want those other guards, all right, get rid of one of them and pick up something, package something, and get a backup center. It can be done. But you got to have these conversations, or else you're wasting time.
Absolutely. Well, folks, when the Knicks have their head coach, we'll certainly be here to talk to you about it and give our assessment on the matter. But until
Sure.
then, the Knicks right now do not have a head coach. Tom Thibodeau fired after 5 seasons. So obviously, I thought his his tenure there, I thought he was successful. There's no doubt you
Very
can't say he
successful.
wasn't successful. Obviously, this is a situation where they think they can get to another level with a different coach, but that doesn't mean that he didn't do a great job because he certainly did. I think every Knicks fan would acknowledge that. Obviously,
He's
you
one of the
can't
top. He's top 3 or 4 coaches in Knicks history. You got Red Holzman, Pat Riley, and then him
and him.
and
Yeah, I
Jeff
would
Van
say
Gundy.
so. Right. Yeah, I
It's
would
him and
say
Jeff
so.
Van Gundy. That's
Right.
it.
Yep. Then Uncle Dave, we're going to go and finish with our next topic here.